Productions here. Welcome to the year of review for 2024. Yes, folks, it has been a very interesting and successful year. We got a lot to cover, and yeah, go grab yourself a coffee, go grab something to eat, go grab your popcorn, go do whatever you do, and enjoy the video. So yeah, here we go. Year review for 2024. Our first train of 2024 brings us the Horseshoe Curve in Altoona, Pennsylvania, in the snow. Yes, that's right, folks. Me and my rail fan buddies went up to Horseshoe Curve in Altoona, Pennsylvania when it was really wintry and really snowy. And it was probably one of the best winter sights I have ever seen in my life. I mean, I love Horseshoe Curve as it is already. But when you visit it in the wintertime, it's something else. Like, the feelings that I felt while being there in a wintry weather like this is kind of unexplainable. But whatever the feelings were, they were very positive feelings, and again, I enjoyed every bit of this. I mean, this was cool. This was really cool. Now, you're probably wondering why we're not over at the park. Well, they close it for the winter time, so we climbed up the backside of Horseshoe Curve. Which, in my opinion, I think the backside looks so much more scenic than what you get at the park. So, yeah, here is, I think, Norfolk Southern 11K. Yeah, so, yeah, that's pretty cool right there. Definitely a great way to start off 2024. A few days later, I find myself at St. Denis Mark Station in the snow. And here we have CSX L125 coming down the line here. He had a very friendly engineer on board as he recognized me and gave me a nice little horn show in the snow. I kind of found this kind of interesting because, number one, it's in the snow, and we have GB40-2s and a GB38-2. Sorry, GB40-2 and a GB38-2 in the consist, which I find very neat. And I think that's pretty cool right there. So yeah, that was a pretty cool train in my opinion. Very cool indeed. About a week later, I find myself at St. Denis Mark Station again, this time at nighttime, to capture a pretty interesting ethanol train with a BNSF-9 leading and just a regular BNSF GEVO trailing. But nonetheless, that's still pretty cool consist, especially for the Baltimore Terminal subdivision. I think that's pretty neat, and definitely worth a mention. Oh yes. This next one is a big one. Here we have the CSX Heritage Duo coming through St. Denis Mark Station, with the Monon Heritage Unit leading and the New York Central Heritage Unit trailing. Symbol on this train was CSX M216 when it did exist through Baltimore. Doesn't exist anymore through Baltimore, as far as I know. But that is really cool right there. It's not the best catch of 2023, but it is a very close second. And that right there is a very cool train. A few more weeks later, I find myself at Mance, Pennsylvania, in front of the old Mance post office. Now, this post office was a part of Mance for many years, no longer a part of Mance, it's now somebody's property, but this is a very special area of the Viaduct Railroad. And this is just the entrance way into Sandpatch, PA. So I definitely figured that this was a worth of a mention here. So, yeah, this was pretty cool. I think so, at least. I don't know about you, but I think this is definitely worth a mention. Later on that day, I find myself alongside the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad chasing one of their excursion trains. Leading the train was an ex-Norfolk Southern B-32-8. Still in Norfolk Southern paint, I felt like this engine was worth a chase. Now, this is considered a patched unit because it's still in Norfolk Southern paint, but it has different reporting marks, and the Norfolk Southern logo is gone. So this is considered a patched unit. Now, the next thing is, if you guys have never ever heard a Leslie RS5T before, well, here's a great prime example of one. And if you don't think this thing will get you out of the way, I don't know what will, because this thing sounds very mean. A week later, I find myself at St. Denis Mark Station early in the morning after a little snowfall. Here we have M409 passing through St. Denis Mark Station, and sadly, this would unfortunately be our last train that we would see through St. Denis Mark Station before the unfortunate and sad St. Denis shut down, which would shut down the platforms to rail fans while Mark is not in operation. A little later that day, and I find myself at Featherstone, Virginia, and I was very surprised to see Amtrak 174, the very first Amtrak locomotive painted in the Phase 7 paint scheme. Now, this ain't very special anymore, but at the time, it was the class unit for the Phase 7 paint scheme, because it was the first locomotive painted in it. And I find that very cool. So, yeah, that was really awesome right there. A little later that day, we have CSX W088 coming through. This is a Herzog ballast train. Now, this is probably one of the coolest ballast trains I've seen. It's a Herzog train, and it's one of the coolest ones I've seen. And, yeah, so... yeah, that's a really, really cool train right there. About a week later, I find myself at Shenandoah Junction, West Virginia. Here we have Norfolk Southern 12R, and trailing last is one of their Norfolk Southern patch units. Now, as an AC44C6M, it was a Norfolk Southern AC4400CW. Now that is really cool. And that is really a really cool paint scheme on that locomotive. Later on that day, we find ourselves on the CSX side now. On CSX G111, we have two ES44 C4s. Now, I have not seen enough of BNSF, and that was a pretty cool consist. I haven't seen enough of G111 either, so I would consider that a very cool train. Even later that day, we have Norfolk Southern 1071, the Jersey Lines Heritage Unit. This is a really cool heritage unit, and this was trailing on Norfolk Southern 11C. That was super cool. A few weeks later, I found myself in Huntington, PA, filming this really cool ballast train. Now, I've never seen a ballast train like this before. And I definitely think this was a really cool train to film. Yeah, that is really cool right there. Especially those slanted hopper cars, or ballast cars, whatever you call them. That was pretty cool. Later on that day, we find ourselves at Cove, Pennsylvania, filming Norfolk Southern 29G with, again, one of these patched units. And I think that those units are really cool and definitely worth a mention on this list. Even later that day, we see the Lehigh Valley Heritage Unit on 36A. That's a really cool heritage unit too, and I'm glad I finally caught it. Okay, here's a good one for all you BMP fans. Here we have a Buffalo and Pittsburgh SD50-3. Now, I personally have never seen too many SD50s, so this was really cool. And a Buffalo and Pittsburgh SD50, that makes it even cooler. And that, I'm telling you, that thing looks sleek looking. That looks really good. And that is a really cool locomotive right there. With the St. Denis curfew in place, no rail fans are allowed on the platforms anymore during the weekend when Mark is not running. Here we have CSX WO80 coming through St. Denis. And this is just how you're going to have to film trains on the weekend. Yes, and you're going to have signs in the way, but hey, you know what? They could have completely banned us out of there completely. Just make sure you follow the rules and everything will be good. But westbounds, you can still get great shots of westbounds. And this was a pretty cool train right here. A week after that, I find myself on spring break and the East Broad Top Railroad to chase this cute GE 55 tonner. Now, I have not seen any 55 tonners or 45 tonners or 40 tonners. Any tonners by GE. So this was pretty cool. Now the East Broad Top Railroad is interesting because it is the only narrow gauge railroad on the East Coast, as far as I'm aware. So that was really cool. Later on that day, I find myself at Mount Union, Pennsylvania, filming Norfolk Southern 257 with the Erie Heritage Unit. Now, that is a really cool emerald green, and that's a pretty cool little paint scheme. Pretty cool train, and yeah, really cool heritage unit as well. That is really cool right there. Oh my god, that sounds awesome! Oh, that's so good sounding. There we have Norfolk Southern LT with an SD70 M-2 with a fantastic sounding Nathan P3 air horn. This was the first P3 air horn I've ever heard in my life, and this was super cool. And listen to this. It sounded like he played Jingle Bells with that P3 air horn, but that right there was super cool. Okay folks, here's something a little interesting. How about a cab tour of an old GE 65 tonner that used to work for the US Army? Now this was super cool. Everybody meets Engineer Ryan, who works for the Middletown and Hummelstown Railroad. He was kind enough to tell me the history and give me a cab tour of this locomotive. And, folks, it gets way better than that. I got to blow a Leslie RS-52 air horn. Now, somebody please explain to me who gets to do that every day. I don't think a lot of people get to do that every day. So this man is definitely an awesome dude and definitely an awesome engineer and super railfan friendly. Shout out to Ryan the engineer who works on the the Middlestown and Hummelstown Railroad. You were awesome, dude. Thank you so much. Later on that day, we find ourselves in Cove, Pennsylvania, filming the Virginian Heritage Unit. That is one clean, sleek looking Heritage Unit. That was really cool. That is a really bright yellow. That is cool nonetheless. A week later, we find ourselves in Crescent, Pennsylvania, filming the Pennsylvania Railroad Heritage Unit trailing and an SD70 ACC leading. This was pretty cool. And definitely worth a film, that's for sure. I mean, that is a pretty cool looking Heritage Unit. Pennsylvania Railroad, baby. That's pretty cool. Oh, here's a good one for all you aviation drone fans out there. Here's an attempt, and kind of a failed attempt, of me trying to film that Pennsylvania Railroad Heritage Unit. We'll get into more drone shots later on in the video, but this is pretty cool. I mean, it's not that great, but I mean, it's the best I could do. I didn't know much about drone photography and videography, so this is pretty much the best I could do. Later on that day, we have the Norfolk and Western Heritage Unit absolutely speed by my camera at 70 miles an hour at Huntington, PA. This was pretty cool and definitely a surprise, as I did not expect to see any more Heritage units that day. As we all heard, and we're all sad to hear, all CSX GE-8s are gone. Or are they? Here we have CSX M277, I believe, with a CM44AC leading with low ditch lights, letting the GE-8s live on, kind of. It does resemble a GE-8 because it looks like one with that low ditch lights, so the legacy of the GE-8 lives on. Also, that Homer Simpson Autorack car is pretty interesting as well. So that is pretty cool right there. I consider that a very cool train. And it's very unique to see a CM44AC with low ditch lights. It looks exactly like a Dash 8. Okay, here's a pretty cool consist. We have CSX 439, an AC44 CW, which is also the Spirit of Birmingham, with also an SD70 AC, non-flared. Now that's a pretty cool consist. I know that might not seem much, but that's a Spirit engine paired up with an SD70 AC. That is really cool, actually. So that is a really cool little train right there. Okay, here's a pretty cool consist as well. We have a CN-T44AC and an ex-Illinois Central -9. That was pretty cool. And this was CSX B774 or B7774. That was pretty cool. Definitely worth a mention there. Later on that day at Pointer Rocks, we have CSX L112 with BNSF power. Leading was an ES44C4, and trailing we have a BNSF-944CW. And that was pretty cool. Definitely a surprise right there. And the -9 was in the older BNSF paint scheme, which was pretty cool as well. I also heard from other people that this unit also has a Nathan P3 air horn, which would have been so cool to hear. That's really cool right there. A week after that, we head up to Reading, Pennsylvania to chase the Reading Iron Horse Ramblers, with Reading 2102 in charge once again. This was pretty cool, and this was a overhead shot of the train, and I find that pretty cool and a really cool angle. So this was a really cool shot. This was filmed in Port Clinton, Pennsylvania, and yeah, just look how clean those cars look. Those look really clean, and it looks really good in the gleaming sun. Yeah, folks, that's pretty cool right there. Later on that day, I set up at a very scenic location just outside of Jim Thorpe in the Lehigh Gorge to film the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway train with these beautiful, sleek looking F units. Now, filming this train felt like that you were filming a train way back in the 1900s, like late 1900s. It felt like you were going back in time filming this thing. Like, again, this passenger train felt like a train that you would see in the 1900s, or the late 1900s we're talking about. That is really, really cool. I mean, that was a really neat shot, and I really am pleased the way that came out. So yeah, that's really cool right there. Oh, and folks, we can't forget about our pig shot of 2102 this year. Oh yeah, listen to that big chug. That's cool. A week later, I find myself on the Walkersville Southern Railroad chasing Jetta Coal number 85. A little tank engine. Now, this is the first time I've ever filmed a tank engine, and it's definitely different from any other steam locomotive I've ever filmed. I mean, thing's cute. It's a very cute little engine. And, yeah, so that's pretty cool right there. It's a little 040, it's an 040 locomotive, which is a tank engine, and it would have a T in somewhere in that name. But yeah, the passenger coaches are also pretty interesting on this train. They're like a different style. So yeah, that's a pretty cool train right there. And yeah. It's pretty cool. 1 week later, I find myself at St. Denis Park Station filming this CSX B773. Leading the train, it was a BNSF ES44C4, two of them. One was trailing, and trailing was an ET44AC, or C4. ET44 or C4 is what it is. So that was pretty cool. Definitely interesting. Definitely interesting, and I think that's pretty cool right there. About another week later, on a nice fine summer evening, we find ourselves at Warner Rocks, Maryland, filming the Pure Marquette Heritage Unit. Look how gorgeous and sleek that unit looks. That, at the time, was one of the best heritage units on CSX I've seen. But now we got some better ones. But nonetheless, that is a really cool unit. And definitely a very cool train. Symbol on this train was CSX M372. That's really cool right there. Oh yeah, here we go. The main event for 2024. Cass, West Virginia. Yes, that's right, folks. On June 15th, 2024, me and my parents head down to Cass, West Virginia to film the famous Parade of Steam. And we also rode a train ride down there as well, which will be the next clip. This was really, really cool. And I mean, I've not seen anything like this in my life. I tell you one thing right now. If you got the money, go to Cass. You will not regret it. This is an amazing event to attend. And it is like, I can't even explain it. There's so much hard feelings that you feel at Cass. By hard feelings, I mean feelings that feel absolutely fantastic and great and just completely awesome. And this was super cool. And stay tuned because I'm going to try my very best to do the 2025 race because this was so cool. I mean, that was so awesome. The next day after the steam parade, or the parade of steam I should say, we ride the Greenbrier Express to Durban, West Virginia. Now this is one of their scenic rides that they offer at the Cass Scenic Railroad. And I am definitely not regretting taking this little scenic train ride, as it was extremely scenic, as it takes you alongside the Greenbrier River. Now this was a pretty neat little trek along the river, and yeah, that's all I can say about it. I mean, it's super scenic, highly recommend doing it, and definitely worth the money. A week later, after visiting Cass, West Virginia, I find myself in Pennsylvania chasing the Reading Iron Horse Rambles with Reading 2102 in charge. This time, the Iron Horse Rambles is going to Tunkanal, Pennsylvania. This is a complete new route for 2102 and the Iron Horse Rambles. And this is almost like an experiment type of route for Reading and Northern 2102 and the Iron Horse Rambles. But as Reading and Northern has confirmed, they are doing it again this year, so I'm guessing this is going to be a reoccurring thing. But nonetheless, this was pretty cool. And yes, this was pretty neat. Yep, folks, that's right. Later on that day, after chasing 2102, we find ourselves at Steamtown, and look at this big behemoth. I wonder what kind of locomotive this is. Yes, that's right, folks. This is a Union Pacific Big Boy. This is Union Pacific Big Boy number 4012. And look how massive this thing is. I absolutely could not believe how huge these big boys actually are. And these things are absolutely massive. But they are so cool looking. And it makes the East Coast locomotives look like complete babies. When you take a look at one of these things, you just wonder how babyish locomotives are on the East Coast. But that is really cool right there. And here's some more locomotives. It was a great time at Steamtown. So yeah, that was pretty cool right there. Here's a good one for all you Alco fans out there. Me and my rail fan buddies head up to the Delaware-Lackawanna Western Railroad to chase a bunch of Alcos. Symbol on this train was Delaware-Lackawanna Western PO74. Now this was the first time I've ever seen running Alcos. This was really cool. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty neat right there, if I do say so myself. A ton of grain hoppers, but that's pretty cool nonetheless. Later Later on that day, after chasing the Delaware Lackawanna Western Alcos, we head up to Bampton, New York to film a ton of Norfolk Southern trains on the D&H line. Now, this was pretty cool. At this point, we are on our New England road trip. And this was the first train we filmed on our trip, besides the Delaware Lackawanna Western. And this was I want to say, a yard job, but it's still pretty cool to see an SD60E, leading and working a train like this. I mean, you don't see that every day. So that's pretty neat right there. Definitely worth a mention. The next day, we would find ourselves alongside the Harborville Trestle, just outside of Bampton, New York, with Norfolk Southern 11R crossing it. I've only done one other shot like this on a trestle, and that being the Shepherdstown Bridge in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And I'm not too happy with how that shot came out. It really wasn't that good. It was too shaky, and it was in the rain, and it just didn't look that good. So this is definitely a lot better, and definitely makes up for that shot. Also, who met up with us to film this train was D&H 2906, who also gave me a shout out on his channel, and shout all of our channels out. So that was really kind of him. And if you're watching this, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the shout out, and yeah, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and hope you enjoy my content. So yeah, this was a pretty cool shot, and yeah, that's pretty cool right there. Later on that day, I would find myself in Amsterdam, New York, filming one of these Empire Builder Amtrak trains. This locomotive being painted in a I want to say phase 3 paint scheme for the Empire Builder Service. Now, you can almost consider this a heritage unit, because it is painted in the phase 3 paint scheme. And I find that pretty cool. So yeah, that is definitely worth a mention on this list. And yeah, that's a pretty cool little Amtrak train right there. Definitely worth a mention, that's for sure. Because you definitely classify that as a heritage unit. The next day, I would find myself in Selkirk, New York, filming this CSX B780 with Union Pacific Power. Now, this was kind of a surprise. I mean, we didn't expect to see any Union Pacific or any farm power at all that day. But this was pretty cool to see. But you know what would make this train even cooler? That's right, some old Union Pacific AC 6000 CWs. Now these units are downgraded to AC 4400 CWs. But these units are in AC 6000 body, which makes them look like an AC 6000 CW. Now, that right there is pretty cool, and it's the first time I've ever seen anything like an AC 6000 CW. So, that right there is really cool. Oh yeah, here's a good one for all you Pan Am lovers out there. Check this out. Here we are in Rigby Yard, just off of US 1 in Portland, Maine, and look what we got over here. We got a CSX-9, a Pan Am Railway-8, and we got a Canadian cab Pan Am Jeep right there. How cool is that? Now this is the first batch of Pan Am power I've ever seen in my life. But that right there is so cool. Have you ever seen an Amtrak F40PH in 2024? Well, you're about to. because the Amtrak Downeaster service still uses these F40PHs as cabbage cars, which is a cab car and a baggage car in one. Now I find this a great way to reuse and give these old engines a second lease on life. So yeah, I can officially say that the F40PHs still lives on in 2024. And I think that's really, really awesome. Here we have this Pan Am freight train coming through Wells, Maine with all kinds of goodies on there. From B40-8s to a GP40-2LW. That is a really cool train. The next day, I find myself on the Conway Scenic Railroad in New Hampshire. Now, this is a very scenic little short line railroad, and it's got all kinds of stuff. It's got GP9s, a GP35 high hood. It's got they got a couple of GP9s. They got a GP38-2, and they got all kinds of other stuff, and a steam locomotive too. So I would definitely do this again. Later on that day, we chased the Conway Scenic Railroad's 5-hour round excursion. Now, I have got to be honest with you. this right here has got to be the most scenic shot of a train I have ever taken. I mean, you got that big, beautiful mountain in the background with the trees. I mean, this is New Hampshire, baby. This is the peak of the Appalachian Mountains. Well, I mean, we are not too far from where I was standing in this video. I was not too far from the top of Mount Washington. Now, again, I have got to be honest with you. This has got to be the most scenic shots I have ever taken of a train. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I will definitely not forget about me taking this shot, because this is gorgeous. And that is really cool and super awesome. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention with this locomotive, this is an ex-Vermont Railway GP38. It's not a GP38-2 like I said it was. This is a ex-Vermont Railway GP38, still in Vermont Railway paint. So that is an added bonus, and that is super cool. It is the first Vermont Railway engine I have ever seen. So that is super cool as well. The next day, we head down to the Northeast Corridor to film some MBTA trains on the Northeast Corridor in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. On the end of this train was an F40PH. Now this was really, really cool. I think it's an F40PH-3C, I believe it is. So it's a modified F40PH. But that's really cool nonetheless. A little bit later on, we filmed this Amtrak Acela going through one of two crossings on the Northeast Corridor in New London, Connecticut. Now this was pretty cool and definitely unique, because it's not every day you see an Amtrak Acela going through a railroad crossing. It's very different. So this is definitely worth a mention. I also film an Amtrak Acela going across this swing bridge, or whatever kind of bridge you call it. So this was really cool too. I mean, it's very different because you don't see this every day. But nonetheless, this was pretty neat, and definitely, again, worth a mention. I mean, yeah, that's too cool right there. A couple days later, I found myself at Horn Rocks, Maryland, filming a coal train with the New York Central Heritage Unit. I forget the symbol on this train, but it's a Heritage Unit. That's all I've got to say. And that's pretty cool right there. I know this might not be train related, but I am a huge Lamborghini and exotic sports car fan, and this was really cool. I mean, who gets to see this every day? Shortly after filming that Heritage Unit, all these sports cars pull up. And I don't know, guys. I think this is really worth a mention. Even though this is not train related, I still think this is too cool. And I doubt I'll see anything like this again. I mean, look at all these sports cars. I mean, we got Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, BMWs, Porsches, all this cool stuff. I mean, it's really awesome. I mean, that's just so cool. And yes, folks, I hope I own a Lamborghini one day. I want a Lamborghini one day, because I really think that's really neat. 1 week later, I find myself on the Strasburg Railroad filming Norfolk and Western 475 with a Southern Pacific 6-chime whistle. This was pretty cool, and yeah, this was pretty neat. And yep, as you know, I love steam locomotives, and yeah, this is definitely worth a mention. And yeah, that's pretty cool right there. A few weeks later, I find myself at Laurel Mark Station filming the Monon Heritage Unit coming through at track speed, and it just speeds on by. And also, pay attention to the flat cars as they bend, as they bounce up and down. I find that kind of neat and kind of funny. But yeah, that is pretty cool right there. A little bit after that, I find myself at Featherstone, Virginia, with the Amtrak Phase 1 Heritage Unit, Amtrak 161. Now, sadly, unfortunately, this Heritage Unit was burnt up in a fire, and unfortunately is probably going to get scrapped. So, as I always say, get the engines while you can, because sometimes you may never see them again. A couple weeks later, I head back down to Cass, West Virginia to conquer the Bald Knob Excursion Train, which would take us from Cass, West Virginia, all the way up to Bald Knob, which is the second highest mountain peak in West Virginia. While we were doing that, however, we decided to film some trains while we were down there. And leading the Greenbrier Express, when we were down there, was Climax number 9. Now, a Climax is very different from a Shay. It's a different type of Climax. It's a different type of gear-powered locomotive. It's a little bit different from a Shay. I won't get into too much detail about it. I'll make a separate video about it. But yeah, that was pretty cool, and yeah, that was pretty neat. Definitely. Definitely very, very, very neat. getting on the Cass Scenic Railroad, we decided to get on our train and head up the Bald Knob. And look at that view. Have you seen any view like that in your life? I mean, that is absolutely gorgeous. But hold on, folks, it gets way better because look at this view coming up. This view you're about to see is probably going to be the best view you ever see in your life. I mean, this, oh my God, it's so breathtaking. I mean, this is truly almost heaven. This is the heart of the Cass Scenic Railroad right here. Just look at that view. Oh my God, that is so gorgeous. This is Bald Knob, everybody, the second tallest mountain peak in West Virginia. That is so gorgeous. I mean, to this day, I still can't even take it in. It is so unbelievably gorgeous. That is so cool. Yeah, folks, that is just awesome. And this is the first video, I believe. Yeah, the first video I've taken with the DJI Mini 4 Pro that I've been using for a couple months now. And I absolutely love that drone. But yeah, man, that's really cool. And here's a little bit of a shot of Shay number 11. This is the Shay that brought us up there. And that is a really cool looking steam locomotive. Everything about the Cass Scenic Railroad is just awesome. And now we're heading back down. But man, that view was so cool. A week later, we have the CSX Baltimore and Ohio Heritage Unit come on some kind of coal train. Forget what kind of coal train it was. I think it's E748, I believe it is. But I could be completely wrong. I don't remember half these symbols. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Definitely a surprise right there. Shortly after that, we have CSX C782 come through Pointer Rocks with the CNEI Heritage Unit. So that was pretty cool. Another surprise. We actually saw this train in Cumberland, but I got a better shot of it in Pointer Rocks. But nonetheless, that was really cool. And look at all that coal dust coming off the train. That is just cool. Just really cool. Another week later, we decided to chase this Nickel Plate Road High Hood GP9 number 811 on the Delaware River Railroad excursions. This was pretty cool, and yeah, definitely an interesting little route. I definitely recommend you go film it if you are in the area, because it is kind of neat. A little bit later that day, we found ourselves at Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. Here we have Norfolk Southern 64K, an ethanol train with a very friendly crew. Somebody decided to dress up as Mr. Frogman. Hello, Mr. Frogman, how are you doing today? I don't know, guys. I just found that so funny, and it had to be included with this list. So, yeah, that was really cool right there. I've never ever seen anything like that before. About another week later, we find ourselves at Cove, Pennsylvania, filming the Monongahela Heritage Unit, leading Norfolk Southern 63V. Now, the Monongahela Heritage Unit is kind of bland. It's not too exciting, but nonetheless, it is a heritage unit, and you can't go wrong with that. So, I guess that was pretty cool. Definitely not one of the best catches I've watched, but it is something. Oh, but wait a minute, what is this coming down the line here? Here we have the Norfolk Southern 10K with the original Norfolk Southern Heritage Unit. That was a surprise. 2 Heritage units in less than an hour, not even 15 minutes. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. Not even gonna lie there. But nonetheless, that is pretty cool right there. Oh my god, that sounds so good. Yes, folks, I'm including this one because this is by far one of the best Nathan P5 air horns I have ever heard in my entire life. I mean, just listen to that thing. The tune is just right. Everything about that horn is just perfect. Perfect. Just absolutely perfect. That sounds really good. Ah, but wait, there's more! Of course there's always more with rail fanning. Here we have the Conrail Heritage Unit traveling on I don't remember the symbol for this train. All I know is that it's an intermodal train and it has the Conrail Heritage Unit. And guess what? There's even more. More Heritage Units. Here we have Norfolk Southern 632 with the Nickel Plate Road Heritage Unit in the lead. Now that was really sleek looking. That was cool. And this was certainly a really cool shot. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome there. Here we have Norfolk Southern 26X rounding the world famous Horseshoe Curve. Now, as I told you, there was going to be a lot more drone footage as we go on. Well, here is the start of it. I am now officially FAA registered. I'm FAA licensed. So I am now taking it to the next level with drone videography. And I must say it it is fantastic. It makes rail fanning so much cooler. It makes trains look so much cooler. And it's really just an awesome thing to do. I mean, just look at that view. That is so cool, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know why I didn't think about doing this, like, sooner. Well, I did, like, during Christmas, like, like, 2 years ago with my DJI Mini 2, but it didn't look good because I didn't know how to use the thing quite right. So, kind of set it off to the side a little bit. And, yes, but no, dude, this is really cool. How I'm doing this drone footage, and again, it adds a lot of character to the video, in my opinion. And yeah, man, it just looks really, really sick looking. I love it. I think I think drone videography is by far one of the best things I could have ever came up with. I mean, it looks so cool. It really does. It makes you look like a professional. It makes you look like you've been doing YouTube for God knows how long, for maybe 13 years. And it just looks really good. I mean, that is just I'm breath I can't even speak. I don't even I can't comprehend this. I literally cannot comprehend this. But yeah, guys, if you guys want to get into drone videography, do it. Go for it. It's worth it. Not long after visiting Horseshoe Curve, we have Norfolk Southern 39G with the Lackawanna Railroad Heritage Unit trailing. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen this Heritage Unit, and it's a pretty cool looking Heritage Unit. It definitely is interesting looking, and it looks really cool looking. And because why not, I decided to take the DJI Mini 4 Pro drone up in the air to get a really cool look at this nice, beautiful Heritage Unit. Now, the thing is with the Mini 4 Pro is it has a little bit of issues keeping up with very fast trains, as the speed limit for that drone is 35 miles an hour. And on these big, heavy, busy main lines, usually the track speed is 70 miles an hour. So, yeah. But nonetheless, this is pretty cool footage that I was able to gather with the DJI Mini 4 Pro. And I do recommend that drone. It is a very nice little drone. Um, there it has a lot of features, and yeah, as you can see, I'm keeping even with the Heritage unit. I'm also trying to keep at the same speed as the train itself, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job at that. But yeah, guys, as I was saying earlier when we did the horseshoe curve shot, if you guys want to get involved with drone videography and photography, do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. It is so worth it. It will improve your videos and it will bring character to your videos. Trust me, drone videography and photography looks so good. So try it out. Do it. You will not regret it. A couple weeks later, I found myself in Cove, Pennsylvania, filming Norfolk Southern 25B with the moving. With I don't know what they call that unit. To be honest with you, I call it the Thanking Our Railroaders unit. Number on the engine is Norfolk Southern 4822. And for some reason, that unit is disliked a lot, actually. Like, it's really hated, but I don't mind it. Yeah, it's not the best looking unit, but, I mean, yeah, I don't have much to say about it. You know, it's a special unit. You want to get it while you can. Just get it. You know, you don't have to like it. Just get it. Just film it. Everything's worth filming. But anyway, that was pretty cool, nonetheless. Okay, this next clip that I'm showing you is actually where I started a brand new series up on my YouTube channel. That series being called Cinematic Trains. And basically what that is I take out my drone, fly it over to CSX. I don't know how to say that yard. Oh, now I remember. Mount Wymus Yard. I take the drone over to Mount Wymus Yard and just film the trains going by. And yeah, the series did not do so well. It actually sucked pretty bad. So that's why I've not been doing it that much. But I thought it would do well. I thought it would give me subscribers. I thought it would help do all that good stuff. But it didn't. It sucked really bad. So that's why I have not been doing it. And I stopped the series because it just didn't do well. It was a waste of my time. So, but occasionally I'll do it, but I won't do it as much because, again, it didn't do so well. It was kind of a failure on my channel. But, you know, there's plenty of failures in this world. Some things will fail and some things will succeed. And this cinematic train series is something that did not succeed. It failed miserably. But nonetheless, this was a cool attempt at getting some trains, and I'm not disappointed. A few weeks later, we find ourselves on the Allentown and Auburn Railroad chasing an EMC SW switcher. Now, this is pretty cool. And EMC is what EMD was called before they were even called EMD, which I find is pretty neat. And that is a really old engine then. Okay, here we have some more drone footage from the Cinematic Train series. Here we have CSX M410 coming through Mount Wymus Yard with an Kansas City Southern, or KCS, ES44AC trailing. Now, this was pretty cool. You don't get too many KCS engines that come through Baltimore that much. But the only thing is, it's backlit and it really doesn't look that great. I tried my best to pull this off and I kind of failed. This whole series, like I said, was a complete failure. Now, because it was a complete failure, I'm not going to take the series down. The videos are still going to be up for everybody to watch. I'm just not going to post as much to that series like I did in the beginning when I started the series. But that doesn't mean I'm going to completely stop it. I will post more trains to the series when I feel like getting off my lazy butt and getting out and flying that drone over the Mount Wymus and getting these trains for you. But I kind of don't feel like doing that right now. And yeah, but nonetheless, this was pretty cool. I mean, did my best to get that unit, and hey, I got it. It's better than nothing, but it really doesn't look that great. But yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. About another week later, I found myself on the cool Brookdale Railroad again. This time, instead of filming the GP38-2, the High Hood GP38-2, I should say, we're filming this High Hood GP9, or excuse me, High Hood GP10, number 7236. Now this was pretty cool, and it had a crazy loud, awesome sounding Leslie RS5T air horn. I will give it that, but I do wish that the GP38-2, the High Hood GP38-2 was fun. It's getting a revamp, so yep, won't see that until next year. But still, this was still cool nonetheless. Okay, guys, here is some more drone footage from the cinematic train series. Here we have a MARC train coming through, and no, guys, this is not filmed on my DJI Mini 4 Pro. As recent, guys, if you guys are new to the channel, if you guys are not new to the channel, you guys already know. If you are new to the channel, I recently just acquired a DJI Phantom 4. And I absolutely love that thing. It is such a great drone. I think it's one of the best drones that was ever made. But, yeah, I acquired a DJI Phantom 4, and, you know, I find it very neat and very amazing to have a drone that many people have retired already, because the DJI Phantom 4 is about, I want to say, 8 years old. Mine's is 8 years old, and it takes great footage still. And, you know, that's a drone that many people have retired for the Mavic 3 Pro, the Mavic Air 2, the Mavic, you know, not Mavic, the Air 3S, the Air 3. You know, that's a drone that many people retired for those drones. So the whole fact that I'm using an 8-year-old drone to film content, I find is amazing. And that Phantom 4, it is a great drone. I love that thing so much. It's one of my prized possessions next to my YouTube channel. I love it. I love flying it. It's a blast to fly, but it also gets some great footage. So yeah, that is awesome right there. Not long after, I finally filmed my very first freight train under catenary wires. This being Norfolk Southern Y95 coming down the Northeast Corridor. I find this pretty neat because, again, I have not seen too many, matter of fact, I haven't seen any freight train going underneath catenary wires like this. So this was a pretty good surprise and a pretty cool treat. Here's a sad one for you. The last Amtrak Capital Limited. This was the final passenger train of the B&O, as this Amtrak train would merge with another Amtrak train to create the Floridian. renumbered from 29 and 30 to 41 and 40. This is the last Amtrak Capital Limited. On a cold Monday evening, late at night, I find myself in Lansdowne, Maryland, waiting for this E748 to come through Lansdowne, Maryland, with the Family Lines Heritage Unit leading. Now, the Family Lines Heritage Unit is a mix of the L&N, the Clinchfield, the Seaboard Coastline, and all those railroads. It's a mix. The Family Line system was not really a railroad, but it was more like, I guess you could say, a holding company. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool. And it's another heritage unit off CSX's book for me. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Oh yeah, and that SD78, that's pretty nice. SD70, what, Chris? An SD70 AC, you mean. But nonetheless, that was pretty cool. A couple days later, I found myself up in Westchester, Pennsylvania on the Westchester Railroad chasing this ex-Reading MU. I don't really know what you consider it. I know it's like a cab car type thing, but it's hard to describe. But I know it's definitely very special. And we also chased this ex-Penn Central GP38. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Here's that Penn Central GP38 leaving Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. And that's a pretty cool looking paint scheme. I like the reef on the front of it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And you got some Pennsylvania Railroad equipment on there. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure these are all ex-Reading cars, these green ones. But I could be completely wrong. Again, I'm no expert to the history of these cars and this rolling stock and these locomotives, so I don't really know. But it's whatever. Okay, here's some drone footage of the Westchester Santa train. Now, as you just saw, I put the title in the top right corner of what drone it's being filmed off of. As you can see in the picture, you can see the DJI Phantom 4 right below the Mini 4 Pro. And yeah, both of these drones, like I said, both of these drones do a great job at doing what they're meant to do. They're meant to take video. They're meant to be stable. And they both do a fantastic job of that. Here we are switching on to the DJI Phantom 4. And as you can see, yeah, the image looks a little older, but still, it does not look bad. And the footage still looks really good. I'm impressed with both of these drones. No matter how many people have retired the DJI Phantom 4, it still does a great job at making content and making videos. It takes great footage, and I'm just happy with it. And I'm going to hold on to this drone as long as I can, you know. But, yeah, it is a very good drone, and I absolutely love it. And I'm honestly so surprised how many people have retired the DJI Phantom 4 because of all these new drones coming out. They didn't want to stick with their own drone. They wanted to have the new technology, but we all know how new technology can be these days. So it's always best to stick with your personal, technology. 1 week later, we find ourselves along the Everett Railroad filming Everett Railroad number 11, which is a Vogel type steam locomotive, which is a 260 locomotive. And this was pretty cool, and this is the first time I've ever chased or filmed this railroad. And it is a pretty neat looking steam engine. Also, the Everett Railroad is the only railroad on the East Coast, I believe, or it could be the only railroad in the United States that still uses steam heating
for the heating in the passenger cars, which I find really, really neat. Later on that day, we are in Hancock, West Virginia, filming this B742, which is very rare coming through here, as it takes a different route usually. But leading was a Norfolk Southern Dash 9, and trailing was a CPGE AC 4400 CW of some type. But nonetheless, that was pretty cool and definitely worth a mention. Oh boy, that's coming really, really fast. Uh-oh, brace yourselves. It's about to be a blizzard party up in here. Oh boy, oh boy, that's cold. Ooh, that's cold. Ooh, 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 that's cold. Oh my god, that's cold. Oh, 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 oh my god. Yep, it's a blizzard party. Norfolk Southern ain't playing around. They're blowing snow everywhere. Oh, hey, Chris, are you really that dumb and stupid and that crazy to fly a freaking drone in that weather? Are you all there? Or, like, are you okay? Like, are you really that crazy to fly a freaking drone in that weather? Especially your DJI Phantom 4? Yeah, folks, you better believe I'm freaking crazy enough to fly a freaking drone in this freaking weather. Matter of fact, I should say we are freaking crazy to fly a freaking drone in this freaking blizzard weather. Okay? Because me and my rail fan buddy, Edwin, decided to take our drones up and we decided to film this freaking train in this horrible blizzard weather with the DJI Phantom 4 and his DJI Mini 2. And let me tell you something. I do not regret it. It was awesome. And you know what? My drone can handle it. My DJI Phantom 4 can handle it. I mean, it did a great job. Yeah, it might be snow all over the lens, but hey, it still did a great job. And yeah, we are crazy enough to fly a freaking drone in this weather. About another week later, I find myself in Scranton, Pennsylvania, filming the Delaware-Lackawanna Western Railroad with the Western New York and Pennsylvania Alco in the lead in the snow. And let me tell you something about that New York and Pennsylvania Alco, or Western New York and Pennsylvania Alco. That thing is so rare. I believe that is one of two that is left in existence. That's how rare that thing is. So, yeah, when you're out with Delaware Lackawanna, yeah, make sure if you see that, document it. Because I don't know how long they're going to keep it. Let's hope they keep it for a long time. But nonetheless, that was cool. The next day, I find myself at Sandpatch Tunnel in Sandpatch, PA, filming this CSX M369 with a North Carolina F59PH trailing. How cool is that? This unit was damaged by a tree, and now it's going out to Illinois to be repaired and hopefully get back out into service. But nonetheless, that was still pretty cool. Okay, guys, here's some more drone footage for you guys to enjoy. This time of Sandpatch, PA. Now, you guys got to understand something about Sandpatch. Sandpatch is the summit of the Allegheny Mountains. It is a very famous spot on the B&O, and it's famous for that reason is because it's the summit of the Alleghenies. And you got to, when you visit Sandpatch, you gotta realize, oh my God, I'm on the top of the Alleghenies. I'm at the summit of the Alleghenies. And, that's something that you cannot forget. But anyway, that's just something to keep in mind when you're visiting Sandpatch is that you are at the top of the Alleghenies. And because you're at the summit of the Alleghenies. But anyway, here we have CSX I 136 going into Sandpatch Tunnel. And, I was pretty impressed with how this shot came out. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the locomotives, but you know what? This is fine. It's not bad. And I do like the snow touch to it. Like that adds a lot of character. And there goes I 136 into the tunnel. And I'm just gonna fly up and get a little bit of an overhead view. But yeah, this is just some generic drone footage that I would shoot. And it looks pretty good. I mean, it looks fine to me. But yeah, there's also a house at Sandpatch that is very famous on the B&Os. They claim it as the most famous place on the B&O, or it is one of the most famous houses on the B&O because they claim it's in every shot of the B&O. Now, of course, I don't know how true that is, and of course, you can't believe everything you hear, but that's what I was told. But as you can see, this is some really awesome footage, and this is some really awesome scenery. I mean, there again, when we're talking about drones and aerial photography and videography like this, you guys can get some awesome, awesome scenic shots and just some amazing scenery that is honestly kind of unbelievable. It feels like you're dreaming in a way, but you're not. You're actually in reality and you're flying the drone. But yeah, this was pretty good. And if you're wondering what drone this was filmed on, this was filmed on my DJI Mini 4 Pro. I didn't use the Phantom because it would take way too long. Now here's something pretty cool. We have the Salisbury Viaduct. Now this is the former Western Maryland Railroad main line to Connellsville. This was set up to be a double track main line, but is a yeah, it was set up to be a double track main line, but it was only a single track main line. But still, that is so cool. And the B&O goes right under it. So, yeah, that's a little bit of history about, Sandpatch and the Salisbury Viaduct. The Salisbury Viaduct is now the Great Passageway, which is starts out in, I believe, Cumberland. It's the same trail that follows the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. But as far as I know, it starts out in Cumberland and goes all the way to Connellsville, and that's where it ends. But still, this is some awesome, awesome footage right here. And yeah, I was very pleased the way this came out. And here's a circle shot. Now, you can definitely see that sunset. It looks really good. Like, really, just all this looks awesome. And it's unbearable. And, again, when I told you about that horseshoe curve shot, that was hard for me to comprehend. It's hard for me to comprehend this as well because it's almost like, is this out of a movie? Is this reality? Am I dreaming right now? But no, it's reality. You're flying the drone. That is how cool drones are. They add so much character to your video, and they can get some fantastic footage. And it's a great way to get some really tough shots that you cannot get without trespassing. And you just fly your drone, and according to the FAA, as long as you're not on that property, you're not trespassing. And, you know, yeah, if your physical body is not on the property, you are not trespassing, and you can fly your drone all you want in there. That's what I've heard from the FAA. Again, they could change it at any time, but for right now, that's what it is. As you can see, the B&O snakes right underneath the viaduct. It's really a neat scene. But yeah, so yeah, that's really cool, guys, and definitely come visit this area. Now what we need to do is we need to get on top of the viaduct and we need to get a train going underneath of it. That's the next thing we need. But we didn't get that lucky that day. So that's fine. But this is definitely great. I mean, that is such a great shot. And yeah, definitely worth me filming, that's for sure. So that is really cool right there. Okay, folks, here is another one of those unbelievable, like, again, I have no words to describe this, okay? This shot is Horseshoe Curve in the wintertime. Complete snow everywhere. It is like a magical scene. I'll tell you, I cannot comprehend what I'm seeing right now. But, I filmed this. And the best description I can give you about this is like a little N scale train going around a little layout that, you put in your basement. Yeah, that's kind of what this reminds me of a little bit. I mean, it really looks absolutely stunning. And, again, guys, drones are everything now. Well, they're not going to phase out my camera. Don't think that now. But drones really add to your video. And I guarantee you, if you do some great drone footage, like this, you use your drone the right way, I promise you, you will see a difference in your videos. Like, I mean, this is the again, I can't I can't describe it. I mean, I cannot comprehend this. I cannot describe it. Yeah, it's magical. That's about the only word I can describe this. It's magical. And it looks great, and it it feels like this is out of a movie. It really does. But no, I actually filmed this with my DJI Mini 4 Pro, and yeah, it looks great, and can't wait to do more shots like this. So again, guys, last time I'm gonna tell you, drone videography. Get the drone license, get your drone registered, and get out there, shoot some great video of trains with your drone, and just enjoy drone videography. Get out there and do it, because you can get some great footage, and it will really improve and add some characteristic to your videos. And again, I don't know why I didn't do this like anytime soon, like sooner, but I'm kind of regretting that I did not do this sooner, because again, it looks so stunning. It really does. And yeah, guys, and that's really all I can say there. But man, that is one cool shot. The next day, we found ourselves on the Reading and Northern Railroad chasing NRFF with an SD40-2 leading and an SD50, an ex-Missouri Pacific SD50 trailing. Now that was a really cool train, and some really cool consist. Okay, guys, here's some more drone footage for you. Here we have Reading and Northern NRFF meeting a coal train with the Blue Mountain and Reading Heritage Unit, 1983, which is an SD40-2, but that's pretty cool. And the engineer of this coal train is none other than Annie Moeller Jr. himself, the owner of the railroad, and super rail fan friendly. Early the next morning, I find myself at the B&O Holly Tree Park waiting for CSX IO33 with the C&O Heritage Unit. Now, this is the first time I've seen the C&O Heritage Unit, so this was a huge W for me. Later on that day, we would find ourselves on the SMS lines, or aka the Woodstown Central Railroad, chasing an old PRSL GB38-3. Now this was really cool because never seen this railroad before. It looks like they had some interesting stuff going on. But nonetheless, this was pretty cool, and yeah, definitely a cute and cool little railroad to chase. Alrighty, folks, we are pretty much at the end now, so here is the last bit of drone footage I'm going to give you guys for this video. Here we have that train crossing over, it looks like a frozen lake or river or something like that. But I definitely found this shot to be quite interesting, and yeah, I think it turned out okay. I think it turned out pretty good. There's that Reading caboose there, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And you know, that's all the footage I got, and basically everything we did in 2024. I mean, I forgot about the Maryland Midland, but other than that, that's basically it. So yeah, yeah, that's basically everything we did in 2024. So here is the last shot I'm gonna give you guys of that train. So she's gonna roll on by here. And yeah, guys, that's basically it. So, yeah, we're pretty much up to date now. Except I gotta do the Maryland Midland, but that one's exempt because I haven't done the video yet. But we have done the Maryland Midland 2024. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And with that, folks, that brings us up to date. Man, that was a lot to get through, but we made it. And we are ready for another great year of rail fanning to come. So, yeah, folks, that is basically it. That is everything we have covered in 2024. Definitely one of the busiest years for me, and we've done a lot this year. So, yeah, until next time, Happy New Year, everybody. See you in 2025.